This might come as a surprise, but I like Xenoblade Chronicles. So much so, that during my quest to deliver Xenoblade content the likes of which you've never seen, has led me to uncover a Xeno series so hidden it's not even on the wiki. A series so controversial that after the second game's release, all future versions had to contain a completely different ending to minimise backlash, leaving the series dormant for over a decade. So without further delay, allow me to introduce you to Rex Xenoblade's spin-off adventure in Drawn to Life: Two Realms. Now I'm not exactly sure where on the timeline this game takes place. Probably somewhere after Xenoblade 3, but before Evangelion. However, the overall plot of the game isn't that important. So to summarise, would you believe it, there are two realms. The human realm and the Raposa realm. Mari is the mayor of the Raposa village, and there's trouble afoot, as an evil entity named Aldark is threatening the human realm. So Mari asks the creator, that's us, to send them a new hero to go to the human realm, find Mike, and save the town of Bellevue. Now the main selling point of this series is that you can design and create your own character, along with other assets which vary from game to game. But there is one problem. As long-time fans of the channel might recall, I am not an artist. Also the fact that this isn't my first Drawn to Life video, but I digress. So when I attempted to adapt Rex's likeness into pixel art, it ended in a less than stellar result. But you know what? If it wasn't for not having enough room to make the hair spiky, I don't think I did too bad a job, and it's definitely a step up from when I attempted the same for Dwayne. Moving on to the gameplay, Two Realms takes on more of a shorter puzzle-based structure over the longer levels of the past, by having smaller areas with various objectives, such as guiding NPCs to the goal, or defeating all the enemies. However, at the start, this was incredibly boring, as although each level introduced a new type of enemy or mechanic, the lack of diversity at the start meant the early levels were extremely repetitive, with the problem not being fixed until much later on. A feature I did enjoy was the, for lack of a better term, pay to win feature you could use in the challenge levels, to get 3 stars with ease by buying additional elements to increase your score, but naturally this did cheapen the experience, so I only used it sparingly. But now let's talk about something I didn't like, as despite the game being called Drawn to Life, there was hardly anything to draw, and what was there left much to be desired compared to the previous games. For example, in the next chapter, you could design different forms for your hero on top of various recurring level elements. But what do you get in Two Realms? A flower, a rock, a fishing rod. Now of course there were a couple of cool ones, like this octopus and rocket, but they were just static elements of the environment. Having said that though, I was able to get some mileage out of the drawings, as luckily there were templates you could follow, so I mainly recoloured the existing ones after various Xeno characters. For example, let's go back to that fishing rod. Take a guess who you think that's supposed to be. If you guessed Pyra, you'd be absolutely right. The only other big criticism I have is despite the drawing feature being improved over the previous entries, I still feel like it was missing some key quality of life features. For example, using the pipette tool doesn't change the active colour page. The guide paper is only for show, and most annoyingly, there's no tell for where the cursor is on the screen, so the amount of misclicks I was making was staggering. Not to mention the occasions where it just wouldn't let me draw for no apparent reason. Which, believe me, when you're trying to perfect your masterpiece of a Nier-themed scarecrow, you start to feel a screw coming loose. But that's enough negativity, so what I am impressed by is the fact that Two Realms is a direct continuation of the last game, despite being released over 10 years later. Luckily they summarised the first 2 games' plots at the beginning, but what truly shocked me was the bombshell they casually dropped midway through the game, undoing the retcon of the next chapter's ending. So let's talk about that. So the second game, Drawn to Life: The Next Chapter, has a super depressing, completely out of nowhere ending, in which the denizens of the Raposa realm get Thanos snapped, as it turns out that Mike, the only human in the realm, is actually in a coma due to getting into a car accident, and the entire world is in his mind. Due to the backlash from this, the re-release of the game in the Drawn to Life collection changes things, so instead of being involved in a car accident, Mike just falls from a tree. So knowing this change, I was baffled when Mike's sister Heather explains to the hero that the car crash ending was canon, and their parents didn't survive the accident. Now I don't know about you, but for a kids game, I'm amazed they followed through with that ending. It also doesn't really make sense why the Raposa realm still exists, but whatever. Now that was a depressing topic, so instead let's do a complete 180 and look at this statue I designed for the village plaza. I was going to make it something Xenoblade related, but it made me chuckle every time I saw it, so I just left it as it was. Another couple of designs I'm proud of was this Turtles-esque creature and the clock you could give to Mike. Now the obvious choice would have been to give him a flame clock, but I figured it would be funnier to give him a turn marker as I was expecting to see it on his sprite, but sadly that wasn't the case. Speaking of sprite work, all the pixel art is spectacular, the music is dynamic, and the enemy designs are awesome. It's just a shame that Two Realms was clearly made as a mobile game first, as the UI is really lacking. The only other major thing to talk about now is the ending, as once All Dark is defeated, the game just sort of ends. There's a tease for a potential continuation, but that's it, the credits roll. I think the ending felt so abrupt because there wasn't any sort of boss fight to cap it off, so it just felt like any other part of the story. They also threw in a sudden development of Mari's friend Joey proposing to her, which completely took me by surprise, as I clearly misunderstood their relationship, thinking they had more of a brother-sister thing going on than anything romantic. But that's kinda it. So at this point there isn't really much more I could say without nitpicking. I did encounter a few bugs, but nothing game breaking. However, I did have one right before the last level, in which Rex just didn't load, meaning I had to start the entire 5-stage gauntlet over again, but as I knew the solutions, it wasn't that bad. Regardless, although this game wasn't anything groundbreaking, as a revival of an otherwise completely dormant series, I'd say it was an enjoyable experience, and I didn't feel like I wasted my time. So with that said, if you like what I'm doing here, subscribe, and as always...